My sister spent my money saved to buy a house to buy a car. My name is Evelyn Hart, and I had always been the dependable one in my family. At 29, I had spent years working long hours at a financial firm, diligently saving every penny for a down payment on my first home. It wasn't just a house, it was a symbol of independence, a reward for years of sacrifice. One crisp Saturday morning, I pulled into my parents' driveway after a grueling 12-hour shift. To my astonishment, a brand new cherry red luxury car gleamed under the sunlight. My younger sister, Madison, was circling it with glee, her laughter echoing through the neighborhood. "Evelyn! Isn't she a beauty?" Madison beamed, running her manicured fingers along the hood. "I got such a good deal, the salesman practically gave it away." I stepped out of my modest sedan, still in my work attire, fatigue weighing me down. My phone buzzed, another overdraft alert. I had been ignoring them, hoping it was a mistake. "Madison, where did you get the money for this car?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She tossed her hair, a mirror image of our mothers. "Don't start with a lecture. Mom and Dad helped me figure it out. Right, guys?" Our parents stood nearby, champagne glasses in hand. Mom gave me that familiar pleading look, the one that always meant, "Don't rock the boat." "Your sister needed reliable transportation, honey," Mom said, stepping forward. "We just accessed that emergency account you set up for the family." The world tilted. That wasn't an emergency account. That was my house down payment, $50,000, my entire savings. "Don't be dramatic," Madison rolled her eyes. "You can save it up again. You're good with money, it's like your whole thing. Besides, you're always saying family comes first." I pulled out my phone, showing her the balance, $127.43. "You drained my account without asking me, without even telling me." Dad cleared his throat. "Now, Evelyn, your sister has interviews coming up. She needs to make the right impression." "Interviews?" I laughed, the sound harsh. "For what? The 3 jobs she's quit this year or the degree she never finished?" Madison's face crumpled into tears, right on cue. "Mom, she's being mean." "Evelyn, please," Mom rushed to comfort Madison. "You know your sister's been struggling. We need to support her right now. You've always been the strong one. The strong one. The responsible one. The one they could count on to clean up their messes, cover their bills, keep their secrets. I'd been doing it since I was 12, watching Mom sleep off her headaches while I got Madison ready for school." "You're right," I said quietly, pulling out my phone. "I am the strong one. See?" Mom brightened. "I knew you'd understand. I'm also the one whose name is on all the family financial accounts." I dialed the bank's number, "the one who's been covering Dad's credit card payments since his early retirement, the one whose savings account was collateral for your emergency line of credit." Dad's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. "What are you doing?" "Yes, hello," I spoke clearly into the phone. "This is Evelyn Hart. I need to close account number 847392, effective immediately." "Yes, I understand this will affect linked accounts." "That's exactly what I want." "Evelyn, stop," Mom lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. It's my money." I met Madison's wide eyes. "Enjoy the car, sis. Hope it was worth it." "You're just jealous," Madison shouted after me as I walked to my car, "jealous that Mom and Dad love me more, that I'm living my life while you're just boring." I paused, hand on my car door. "You know what's interesting about karma, Madison? It's not always patient. Sometimes it shows up the second you deserve it." "What's that supposed to mean?" she demanded. I smiled, sliding into my driver's seat. "You'll find out in about, 72 hours, when those credit cards stop working, give or take." The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Dad frantically dialing his phone while Mom hugged a sobbing Madison. They looked exactly like the family portrait on their wall, perfect composition, Mom and Dad flanking their favorite daughter. The portrait I paid for last Christmas, like I paid for everything else. But not anymore. I pulled over 2 blocks away, hands shaking as I dialed another number. "Daniel, it's me." I took a deep breath. "Remember when you said I should stop enabling them? Well, I just did something extreme." Finally, he answered. "Want to grab a drink and tell me all about it?" I glanced back toward my parents' house, where Madison's new car still gleamed in the fading sunlight. "Yes. And Daniel, bring your laptop. We're going to need it." 3 days later, Daniel slid his laptop across the table at our favorite quiet bar downtown. "That's how long it'll take," he said, tapping a string of transactions on his screen. The bank system is sluggish on the back end, but once it processes the account closure and flags the linked credit lines, everything will start to collapse. I stared into my untouched drink, ice cubes melting slowly. They've already called me 19 times. I stopped counting the texts. Daniel took my phone and scrolled through. Evelyn, please call us. It's urgent. Madison is inconsolable, one read. Another, we're a family. Families help each other. I took a sip and sighed. You know what I remember from childhood? Waking up early to make Madison's lunch while Mom napped. Helping Dad figure out budgeting because he couldn't understand overdraft fees. Then, being told I couldn't go to my first choice college because Madison needed dental work. Daniel's typing paused. Look at this. I pulled your account data. They've been moving small sums, $200 here, $400 there, from your savings into an account I don't recognize. Consistently. For 3 years. I squinted at the numbers. That can't be right. I checked my statements. Not this one, he said. They funneled it through the joint account you opened with your mom during college. You probably forgot it even existed. I blinked. They've been using it like a siphon. Another buzz from my phone. A message from Madison. Dad's having chest pains because of you. I hope you're happy. I set it down, face down on the table. They always knew guilt worked on me. Not anymore, Daniel said firmly. Not after this. He pulled up a graph on the screen, lines connecting accounts and routing numbers. Evelyn, they've taken nearly $300,000 from you. Maybe more, if we check the old credit lines. I leaned back, heart pounding. That's impossible. No, it's fraud. And they've been very careful until now. He brought up a scanned document. That car loan? You're listed as a co-signer. Did you ever sign anything for Madison? Never. I refused, even when she begged. Then it's forgery. And we have a case. Just then, Eliza stormed into the bar, manila folder in hand. You're not going to believe this, she said, breathless. I was running title checks on that house we looked at, and guess what came up? What? Your parents refinanced their condo last week, listing you as a guarantor. Your signature is on the forms. I flipped through the documents. My name. My forged signature. They're still using me. Daniel's jaw tightened. The banks are closing in, and they're trying to prop everything up with your credit. Evelyn, this is criminal. I pulled out my phone. It rang. Garrett, my boss. Evelyn, I'm sorry to call so late, he said. But I need to ask you something. Your sister Madison just applied for a position here. She listed you as a reference, and there are some discrepancies. My stomach sank. What kind of discrepancies? She claimed a degree in finance and 3 years of experience. She said you could confirm it. She dropped out after her first year. She's never worked a real job in finance. I thought so, Garrett said gravely. We take fraud seriously, Evelyn. And, given your role. I understand, I said, cutting in. There's something I need to tell you about my family. 20 minutes later, I hung up. Daniel and Eliza were still waiting. Garrett's reporting her application for fraud, I said. And he's giving me tomorrow off to file a police report. Good, Daniel said, opening a new folder on his laptop. Because look at this. Remember that private high school Madison went to? The one your parents claimed got her in on scholarship? Yeah. They used your credit. The payments were coming out of that forgotten joint account automatically. For 6 years. A chill ran through me. That's why Mom insisted I keep that account just in case. The emergency was their lifestyle, Eliza muttered. And Madison's failure to grow up. Another ping. A message from Mom. Your father's in the hospital. His blood pressure's through the roof. Please, Evelyn. If you ever loved us. Don't answer that, Eliza said, grabbing my phone. They're just trying to pull you back in. I know, I said, standing to pace. But what if he really is sick? Then he's sick because of his choices, Daniel said evenly. They've been digging this hole for years. You just stopped being their ladder out of it. Another text from Madison. If anything happens to Dad, it's your fault. I'll never forgive you. I picked up the phone and typed back slowly. If anything happens to Dad, it's because of what you all did. Choices have consequences. Real ones. And they've arrived. Eliza looked up from the table. What now? I stared at the piles of statements, signatures, transaction logs. I'm going to the police. And then, I'm calling every bank they defrauded using my name. The police station was quiet, clinical. The fluorescent lighting gave everything a sterile, unreal glow. Detective Carla Monroe, a composed woman with thoughtful eyes, studied the thick stack of documents I had placed before her. She flipped through page after page, loan forms, forged signatures, transaction logs, all detailing the elaborate web my family had spun over years. You're saying your parents and sister used your identity to open credit lines and secure loans? She asked. Yes, I replied, my voice steady. Without my knowledge. And they continued even after I confronted them. Detective Monroe leaned forward, fingers laced. This is serious, Miss Hart. Once we move forward, it's a felony case. There's no turning back. Are you ready for that? I reached into my bag and handed her a signed affidavit. They've stolen over $300,000. I was ready the moment I found out. As she began documenting everything, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Madison. Mom's been crying nonstop. Dad can't eat. What kind of daughter does this to her family? I held the phone out to Detective Monroe. This is why I'm here. Even now, they're trying to manipulate me. Guilt is their currency. The detective nodded slowly. You'd be surprised how many financial abuse cases come from within families. People often don't want to believe their own parents are capable of this. Just then, the station door opened and Garrett walked in, a large envelope under one arm. Sorry I'm late, he said, nodding to me. I brought everything we discussed. He laid out more documents across the table, employment applications, fake resumes, falsified reference letters, all using my name and title to boost Madison's fraudulent job applications. She's applied to over a dozen firms under false credentials, he explained. She's misused Evelyn's professional reputation at every turn. And I believe some companies have already started internal reviews. Detective Monroe's pen moved faster. This adds identity theft and employment fraud to the case. This is no longer isolated. It's organized misuse of personal information. My phone buzzed again. It was Mom. The detective motioned for me to answer and put her on speaker. Evelyn, Mom's voice trembled, the bank called. They said your father could face legal action, fraud, they said. You need to talk to them. Fix this. I can't, I said simply. But we're your family, she cried. We just needed help, and you've always been so good with money. Detective Monroe leaned forward, cutting in. Mrs. Hart, this is Detective Monroe with the Financial Crimes Division. I advise you to cease all communication with your daughter and retain legal counsel. The line went silent, then disconnected. That should keep them quiet, for now, the detective said. Garrett placed a hand on my shoulder. You're doing the right thing, Evelyn. It may not feel like it now, but holding them accountable matters. Later that day, I sat in my apartment with Daniel and Eliza, surrounded by open files and half-eaten takeout. Detective Monroe had filed the charges. Arrests would follow within 48 hours. And my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Aunt Marlene had called to say I was tearing the family apart. A cousin posted on social media, some people will sell their own parents out just to buy a house. Even a former neighbor messaged me, couldn't you have just forgiven them? I didn't tear anything apart, I said aloud. They did. I just stopped taping it together. Eliza handed me a cup of tea. They're just mad the ATM finally grew legs and walked away. Daniel opened his laptop. Speaking of walking away. Evelyn, I checked the credit bureau. Your name was also used as a cosigner on a condo refinance. Last month. I froze. They didn't even stop after I confronted them? Nope, he said, pulling up the digital paperwork. And they listed your workplace as income verification. My phone rang again. It was Garrett. Evelyn, he said, you'll want to know this. Madison just applied for a job with our largest competitor. Claimed you personally trained her. We've sent everything to their HR and legal. My stomach turned, but my resolve didn't waver. They're trying to keep up the charade. I'm done protecting them. Back at the police station the next morning, I signed the final set of documents with Detective Monroe. Warrants were being issued. My parents and sister would be arrested within the day. That evening, Eliza burst into my apartment holding a newspaper. Local family arrested in identity theft ring. There they were, my parents and Madison, being escorted out of their home by officers. Mom in tears. Dad with his face hidden. Madison yelling at reporters. They're trying to spin it, Eliza said, tossing the paper on my counter. Claiming you had emotional issues and made it all up. I picked up my phone, opened a new email, and wrote to their lawyer. I will not be writing a letter asking for leniency. I will be submitting a full victim impact statement outlining every forged signature and stolen dollar. They had chances to stop. They didn't. Let the court decide what they deserve. I hit send and closed the laptop. Are you okay? Daniel asked. I'm better than I've been in years, I replied. Outside, it was just after sunset. A text buzzed from an unknown number, probably someone else calling me heartless. I deleted it without reading. This was the cost of freedom, clarity, peace, and no more stolen time. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Quiet, but humming with tension. I sat behind the prosecutor, clutching my 3-page victim impact statement. It had taken me weeks to write, days to edit, and a lifetime to live through. My parents sat at the defense table, subdued in their formal attire. They looked smaller, somehow older, diminished. Madison sat in the gallery, arms crossed, glaring at me like a child still convinced she was owed the world. All rise, the bailiff called. The judge entered, his expression unreadable. Before proceedings could begin, my parents' attorney stood. Your Honor, he said, my clients wish to change their plea to guilty on all counts. The room shifted. Even Madison gasped audibly. No. No, they didn't do anything, she cried. You understand, the judge said to my parents, this waives your right to trial, to a full defense? We understand, Dad muttered. Very well, the judge said. Before sentencing, the court will hear the victim impact statement. Miss Hart, you may proceed. I stood and walked slowly to the podium. The courtroom was silent except for the soft creak of my shoes. I unfolded the pages and took a breath. Your Honor, I began. For years, my family taught me that love meant sacrifice. That being the strong one meant saying yes, paying the bills, keeping the peace, giving more than I could afford. They told me we were in this together. But they were never in it with me. They were just taking, while I bled quietly beneath their comfort. Mom wept silently behind me, but I kept going. My father used my identity to secure loans when his retirement failed. My mother funneled money from a joint account I forgot existed. My sister forged my name on job applications, credit cards, even a car loan. And they didn't stop, not when I asked, not when I begged, not when I finally said no. I paused, meeting their eyes one by one. They didn't stop because they didn't think I'd do anything about it. Because for so long, I didn't. I believed family came first. I still believe that. But family does not mean submission. It does not mean theft, deceit, or manipulation. Madison stood abruptly. She's lying. She's bitter because Mom and Dad love me more. Miss Hart, the judge said firmly, your trial is next week. Sit down. I turned back to the judge. I've lost years of financial security. My credit. My peace of mind. But I've gained something more valuable. I've gained the courage to say enough. When I sat down, the judge nodded. Given the nature of the offenses and the duration of deceit, I sentence Philip and Lorraine Hart each to 5 years in state prison. They will be eligible for parole after 3 years, contingent on full restitution of all documented losses. Mom began sobbing. Dad remained frozen. Madison slumped in her seat like a puppet with cut strings. As the officers moved to escort them out, Mom turned to me. Evelyn, we did it for you so you and Madison could have more. No, Mom, I said quietly. You did it to me. Outside the courthouse, the air was crisp. Daniel and Eliza stood waiting with coffee and calm. They're gone, I said. Sentenced. Official. How do you feel? Eliza asked. Like I can breathe, I replied. Want to celebrate? Daniel asked. Actually, I smiled, pulling out my phone. I've got a house closing to get to. Eliza brightened. The one with the porch swing? I nodded. That night. The house was quiet, full of light and possibility. Boxes stood stacked, furniture half assembled. Eliza uncorked a bottle of sparkling cider. To your new life, she said, raising her glass. My phone buzzed. A text from the prison, Madison had been sentenced 3 years. Another came in, my parents' home had gone into foreclosure. Their lawyer sent an email requesting I write a letter of leniency on their behalf. I opened my laptop and responded. I will not be writing any letter for leniency. Instead, I'll submit additional evidence of long-term financial abuse. They are not victims. They are perpetrators. I'm no longer the person they used to control. I'm done. I hit send and closed the computer. Eliza, I said, what do you think about painting the guest room blue? She grinned. I think you're finally asking the right questions. We laughed, the sound echoing through the space that was now wholly mine. They say home is where the heart is. For me, home is where I remembered who I am, who I was before I became their safety net. It's where I pay my own bills. Where my name means something honest. Where every corner reflects a choice I made, not one made for me. It's where, for the first time in a long time, I feel safe. Not because no one will hurt me again. But because now, I'll never let them. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.